Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the food enthusiast here at Jaymore Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live, drop your comments and questions for my guest into the comment box, and you'll see me turn my head and check from time to time. Um, so before we start the show, I have a little message for you. Celebrate Jewish Heritage Night on Monday, August 25th at 6:35 p.m. as the Orioles take on the Boston Red Sox. Get your special ticket package, which includes an exclusive Jewish Heritage cap, now at Orioles.com/theme nights. That's Orioles.com/theme nights. Enjoy a night of baseball and a special celebration of Jewish culture and community. Today's guest is Dr. Rebecca Bevans, cognitive neuroscientist and professor of psychology at Western Nevada College. Her deep dive into synthetic food dyes began as a personal effort to help her son, who at age 7 came to her and said, "Mom, get me a knife. I want to die." Her son's journey, was the basis of a TED Talk in 2016 that to date has over 450,000 views. Dr. Bevans was featured in the recent documentary To Die For. Just released is her new book she co-authored called Everything You Need to Know About Synthetic Food Dyes. And there's a second book to it, Everything You Need to Know About Red Dye number 3. Let's bring in Rebecca.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm sitting here doing my technology so I could see the screen here.
Right. Gotta love technology.
Yeah, it's my best friend. I have to say, and we sort of talked beforehand, you sort of know what I'm going to say. I have to say that this interview will be significantly different than previous ones, where my guests and I talk about cooking and food styling and food trips and fun, joyous aspects of food. I have listened to your TEDx talk 3 times, read articles, watched videos, and watched the recent documentary To Die For. So I can be able and hopefully ask you some well-informed questions. But as you said previously, you are a teacher and no question is incorrect.
There's no bad questions, there's
Right.
no bad questions.
Let me go to a little bit of a time thing here for you. Was it 2005 your son Alex was born?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
2006, you got your Masters of Human and Non-Human Animal Behavior and Development.
Yeah, it's a fancy way of saying, pretty much child development, but also other animals too. So yeah.
Okay. 2008, you got your PhD in Behavioral and Developmental Cognitive Neuroscience. What is cognitive neuroscience?
So yeah, no, it sounds really fancy. Really what it is how we think. So neuroscience is the brain, right? And all the chemicals and the neurotransmitters and the hormones. And then cognition is how we think and process and perceive the world and see the world around us. And what goes on with the hormones and the chemicals in our brain affect our perception. I mean, I use the example for women every month. Our perception shifts a little bit. And we, things that didn't irritate us, and, and it's all because of a shift in hormones. So our hormone shifts and we see the world a little differently. And so cognitive neuroscience is like how we perceive the world around us and how we, and then how our physiological states can affect that. So yeah, primed for how we consume food dyes and how that may change the way we see the world. So
Right. I mean, little did you know when you started on this path that it was probably predetermined that it was best path for you to be on.
Right.
I believe it was 2009 that Alex's symptoms started. Let's talk about that a little bit. Your
Yeah,
son was
he was,
7?
well, his symptoms actually started when he was about 3.5. We just didn't recognize it. You know, kids don't come with books on how they're going to be and who they are. And so as a parent, we're figuring out our child. And as he grew, he became more active, more hyperactive, had a harder time focusing. And when he's at home, he was fine. And it wasn't until he got into school that we started to see some things happening. And so it was by the time that he was 7 that we really saw him having some negative reactions and some difficulties with focusing and paying attention and being able to, I don't know, just get things done when it came to school. And so his doctor kind of wrote it off as that he's a really brilliant kid. And so he was bored. So that's why. And so we always had these little excuses as to, well, maybe he's just hyper, or maybe he's just, active. My mom said that I was a super active kid as well. Little did we know that I'm also reactive to food dyes, but we just kind of dismissed it. But it was when he couldn't focus at 7 and said his brain buzzed that it got me like, wait, I have a degree in neuroscience and brains aren't supposed to buzz, right? I know that. That's, it's typical neuroscience 101, right? And so that's when I started to do kind of a deep dive into what could possibly be causing brain buzzing. And it wasn't all the time. So we knew that it wasn't a constant fixture with him. Neither was
it wasn't ADHD.
Well, no, because ADHD is all the time and he wasn't ADHD all the time. I mean, he demonstrated all the behaviors, but some days it was worse, some days it was better, some days it wasn't there at all. So I found a blog, and I wish someday I will be able to find this woman. She's a woman now. She was a kid then. She wrote a blog because this was before a lot of videos. And she wrote a blog about how when she ate Red 40, her brain buzzed. And so I was like, okay, Red 40. So we, over the winter break in 2nd grade, we pulled Red 40 out of his diet. Brain buzzing went away, hyperactivity calmed. I mean, lots of things disappeared. So we were like, ooh, awesome. So he can't do Red 40. So many people know that Red 40 causes problems. What we didn't know is what the other colors are going to do. And yellow is by far worse for him than Red 40. So we let him continue to eat the other dyes. So red used to be his favorite if he was going to choose a candy. Now he's going to, pick yellow. Also, yellow is in pickles, yellow's in popcorn, yellow is in bagels, yellow's in a lot of different things that aren't considered candy.
Right.
And so he just started eating more and more yellow, and he would have like a meltdown a week. And then it became a meltdown every other day. And then it was every day, and it was 10 times a day. And what really got it there was when we went to Hawaii with my dad and my bonus mom and family. We all went to Hawaii. He was eating shaved ice with the yellow syrup on it every day. We come home and he's having meltdowns like 10 times a day. I mean, he's just over the top. And that's when he was just melting down over nothing. He didn't even know why he was crying. He didn't even know why he was upset. And then he begged me to, I can never say this without getting choked up. I don't care how many times I've said it.
I know.
No parent wants to look in their eyes of a 7-year-old who just is begging for a knife so he can kill himself. And he just didn't want to be here anymore. And it wasn't that he didn't want to be here. It's that he didn't want to feel like that. And so we were just like, all right, that's it. Let's cut all food dyes and see. And it worked. It worked. Within days, he crashed hard. Right. And you can tell that, his body hurt to touch. It was difficult. It was so difficult for him. He's sleeping like all day. He'd get up and lay on the couch, and he had no stamina, and he had no ability to play with his friends. And it really did take a while for his metabolism to kind of re-regulate, like several months. And but within days, the meltdown stopped. The wanting to, not be here anymore stopped. Everything leveled out, and he was back to being that really sweet, just, cool kid that we knew he was, but just something was bugging, was
Right.
causing problems. And I've had people go, well, it was the sugar. No, he eats sugar. Not the sugar. It wasn't anything else. And we've been doing this for 12 years now.
He's hypersensitive from everything that I gather.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how these synthetic dyes have permeated our way of life, from candles to toothpaste to, I think something I read that your sunblock, he put on sunblock, he had a reaction from his skin.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be ingested for him.
Nope.
And candles.
Yep.
So he's I'm not sure it's 10% of children are reactive in some way to these food dyes. Is that a right number?
We don't even know. In writing the book, Lauren and I had gone over like 173 different scientific research articles, and we still can't say how many. Some are more sensitive to others. There are some genetic variations that some people are more sensitive. If you've got asthma, or if you have skin conditions like eczema, higher percentage of these individuals are reactive. So we don't know. There's not been enough research on humans to determine what percentage are reacting. Our son's extremely, I've had doctors and researchers say, no, we'd categorize him as allergic because he is extremely reactive. He's our canary in the coal mine. If he can eat it, anybody can, right? He reacts to just the most tiniest bit. So when I figured out I reacted a couple of years ago, I didn't have the same type of behaviors that he did to the extreme. I had moderate levels of anxiety. I had, ruminating thoughts, the people pleasing, a lot of the things that a lot of people have. And I would never have attributed any of those behaviors to food dyes. So there are a lot of people walking around who dismiss how they're feeling as just being normal. I did. I mean, when I figured it out, I had this existential crisis, and I was only taking one medication that had red and yellow in it. I wasn't eating it. It doesn't exist in my house. I mean, my husband used to bring home Cheetos once in a while. After writing the book, he doesn't touch anything now. He even changed his deodorant because, men's deodorant has like blue in it. And so he changed his deodorant even, but we don't know. We just don't know how many. Maybe 10%, could be more, could be less. It's, yeah.
I'm just going by one of the articles
Yeah.
that I read in writing notes. And as you brought out, folks, your child might be ADHD, and the medication for him might have one of these synthetic food dye colorings in the medication.
Yeah.
So
the biggest thing that just drives me crazy is ADHD medication. 90% of it has color in it than synthetic dyes. And it's like, okay, so you're giving medication to a kid with a chemical that actually increases those behaviors for some kids.
And in doing this and putting this all together, I go, well, okay, we have all these things that are happening to the children and their reactions from this one to that one, whether it be a Laura red, which is red 40, or erythrocin, which is red 3, which has its, and I want to ask you, I'm going to digress.
Mhm.
You've written 2 books or pamphlets that are available on Amazon. And one is specifically about red 3.
Yes.
Was there so much more information on that one that it needed its own pamphlet?
No, we just, as we were writing the book, we thought, you know what, let's release just a little mini book on red 3 because it's being banned. Like that one is absolutely going to be removed from our food supply. That was determined by the previous administration, just pull it because it's been demonstrated to cause cancer. So the bar for removing food dyes, as far as the FDA is concerned, is if it triggers the Delaney clause. The Delaney clause states that if a chemical causes cancer or permanent neurological damage, then it must be removed from the food supply. It's a pretty high bar. And so the red 3 had been proven back in the 80s to cause cancer. And so they fed it to mice. It caused cancer. So the FDA made it illegal or made everyone remove it from cosmetics. I still don't get that one. Like why you can still consume it. The mice consumed it. Why let people consume it? But I understand pressure from industry. So red 3 is being removed. So a lot of people were asking us some questions about red 3. So we're like, okay, we'll just release this little mini book on red 3 if people want to read it. But in the bigger book, in the Everything You Need to Know About Synthetic Food Dyes, there is a chapter all on red 3. There's a chapter on each dye. And so we go through all the research for each one and discuss like why it triggered the Delaney clause or not. And some of the research demonstrates that if it caused DNA damage, so red 40 causes DNA damage, but that's not cancer. So that's not enough to trigger the Delaney clause. I mean, the Delaney clause, again, the bar is very high. So we just decided to release that one first in case people were interested while we were working on the bigger book that had everything in it.
So both are available on Amazon.com.
Yeah. So right now, the bigger book is available on the Kindle version. I got my review copy. And so I'm going through to make sure that everything's in place and everything looks right. And then once there's one thing I have to redo and resubmit, but once that's all done, then the book will be available for purchase, the paperback, and then we're also going to do a hardback copy. Those should be available by the beginning of July. So I'm trying to get the changes done pretty quickly and get that out there.
And just to let people know, links, you can learn more at their website, livingdyefree, DYE-free.com.
Or .org.
.org?
Yeah, .org.
I screwed up. Nothing new.
I mean, I do have a .com. I'm just not sure if it's linked. So, but .org definitely works. Yeah.
Okay. And her Instagram is Dr, like in doctor, Rebecca Bevans, Bevans. And that's Instagram. And also, as the show goes forward, there will be a link to her TEDx presentation. So you can see that. It is really quite moving. And I want to go back to red 3. Okay. The Human Health Services, FDA, are phasing out this petroleum-based synthetic dye. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that they want, whereas they want it out of food by 2027, out of drugs by 2028, that they are requesting mm-hmm. food companies remove red 3 sooner than 2027. That's how concerned they are.
Yeah.
So, and whereas as you go as a consumer on food, you can look at the label and it says red 3, blue 1, green 3. Some of the manufacturers are now putting taking that out and putting in the official name. So what is Red 4, Allura Red instead of Red 40, or things that you're not going to know, Indigotine for Blue 2, or Tartrazine in yellow instead of Yellow 5. So you have to be cognizant.
You do. Now, it is still illegal to do that. Like, so the FDA still states that if it is Red 40, it needs to be labeled as either red dye number 40, red 40. But some companies in other countries, so like in the UK, there's a misnomer that the UK has banned it. They have not. What they do is they require warning labels on any food that has it. So companies pull it, and there's still really rare instances of it there. But in Canada and in the UK, they can use Allura Red or Tartrazine. And when we import those, they don't necessarily change the labels, even though they're supposed to. So we've gotten fooled before. Before I knew what Tartrazine meant, I was looking for Yellow 5 on pickles and went, oh, these are safe. And then my son's having a reaction, and then they're not safe. So you will still come across them. They're just not common, and it's not allowable. And so, yeah, I've seen some misinformation, like, oh, companies are going to do this now. No, they're still not allowed to. It's still against FDA rules for that. They're still supposed to, if it says color added, there's no synthetic colors in it. There might be titanium dioxide, which is an artificial color, but not made by petroleum. There may be a natto, there may be a couple other things. So if it says just color added, there's no synthetic colors in it. It has to say color added red 40 or red 40, yellow 5, those kind of things. So at least they're staying clear mostly on that. But like you said, you'll still sometimes come across them. So you got to kind of be careful.
I guess if you're looking at an imported product, look closely.
Yes.
That's
absolutely
in general. Now, in the U.S., Governor Newsom has banned artificial food dyes by December 31st, 2027 in kids' school lunches.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know Ann Cooper, a chef, who is, where is she? She's like Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
She's the lunch school lady. I'm sure that she's done work on that as well, and what we're feeding the children. Look, I don't remember candy machines in the cafeteria when I went to school,
right.
But in growing up, there were candy machines, there were sodas, and a lot of districts are taking them out and
Mm-hmm.
trying to be healthier. Some of the effects, let's talk about if a child's eating red 3, what are some of the effects or things? How does it affect the children?
So there's some generalities, and then there's also specifics for some kids. So blue 1 doesn't really bother my son as much, but it does cause problems. Some other kids that I've talked to. I've talked to thousands of families over the years. For our son, red 3 gives him a raging migraine headache within 10, 15 minutes, and can cause some of that agitation and that hyperactivity kind of feeling. Red 40 for him causes ADHD type behaviors, and that seems to be pretty common for a lot of kids. Fidgeting, inability to pay attention, can't sleep. Yellow, there's one research study that demonstrated that yellow can cause agitation. And so what I have also found is yellow can cause angry outbursts. For him, he just feels kind of like a rage inside that he can't control or pinpoint even, like it feels real. Like he needs to be angry for a reason, just like how women, when their hormones change, can be angry at something that they weren't angry at before. It's the same kind of feeling.
Right.
And then now red and yellow are azo dyes. So azo dyes are a different type of structure, and they take longer to exit the body. So we have found over the years that it takes 5 days for the yellow to get out of our sun system. When we were writing this book, came across a couple articles demonstrating that yellow is found in urine and feces up to 5 days after. So I was like, oh, I'm validated in that. So what we see is reflective of what the research has demonstrated. Red can take 48 hours. Again, it's found in the
Right.
body and in urine for 48 hours. Blue and green can stay relatively intact. They exit the body as blue and green. If you give a little white mouse a whole bunch of blue, their little nose and feet turn blue. And then it exits relatively intact. So they don't break down. We know that there's gut bacteria that break down the azo dyes.
Right.
We don't know the mechanism of how this affects individuals. And so hopefully, I know Dr. Hofseth, his lab has shifted over to doing a lot of research to kind of look for with mice, look for that mechanism. But yeah, so red 3 for our son really gives him, and this was before we even knew that he was reacting to dyes. We were at a Thai restaurant, and we had been there a lot, and the owner's mom, she acted like Alex's extended grandma. We used to call her Thai Gran, and she brought him some maraschino cherries, a couple of them, and he ate them, and she asked if he could have some more, and I said 1 more. So she brings a bowl, and he ate them. And by the time we got home, he was just screaming because his head hurt so bad. And then had a very difficult time sleeping that night. So that was when he was 5. In hindsight, now we know. But at the time, we knew he wouldn't eat red cherries after that. We didn't know what it was. But now we know it's like the red 3. So yeah. And the bigger issue is they can be triggering cancer, colon cancer, and other tumors in the body. And I used to tell people, like, remove it from your diet for a couple weeks. If you don't see any behavioral changes, if you don't feel any different, then you can go back to eating it. I can't say that now. I just can't, because of knowing what it does, the reproductive toxicity that some of these chemicals have, the DNA damage that they can cause, the metabolism issues that they can cause. I just can't say, oh yeah, go back to eating it, because there's other hidden things that are happening in our bodies that we may not realize besides just the behavioral. I mean, the behavioral is more obvious to detect, but it's not everything. So even one of my girlfriends who, she's listened to me talk about this for years.
Yeah, I'm just reading some of my notes while we're talking. Go ahead.
She said she was eating cherry turnovers. She was on a bender, so she was eating them every day, and she watched her anxiety and those intrusive thoughts just kind of really ramp up, and she stopped eating them and they went away. And so she's like, well, all right, I guess I'm affected too. So it's different for each person.
Right. I mean, when I started, we talked probably maybe 3 months ago. You were busy teaching and you had other things to do. Going, well, I understand what's it doing to adults? And it is affecting us. It is creating issues. So don't think, well, okay, I don't have any grown kids. I can continue to eat this. I'm more cognizant. I used to be. I'm probably, I'm going, I'm 78. Whatever's going to happen to me has already happened. From whatever I consumed, from the frozen dinners to the preservatives. That's probably why I'm the age that I am, because of preservatives. But this is really not that hard to somewhat eliminate these things
Mhm.
because there are natural food colorings.
Mhm.
If you Trader Joe's doesn't have any of the synthetic dyes. Going to Whole Foods. So I'm going to look to it. I mean, yeah, I'll down a bag of Cheetos.
Right, right, right.
And then I should, I don't know how it affects me, but I do have certain health issues that
Mhm.
maybe it's exasperating. So everybody, you can simply do it by just going to natural food dyes. Look at what
Mhm.
you're picking up. You don't see it. You don't see the dyes on certain things if they're not consumable to eat. You don't know that they're there.
Right. Right.
You don't know in your pills. You don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, you have to you have to dig deep on that one. I was diagnosed probably about 11 years ago with a rare metabolic disorder, hypoparathyroid or parathyroid hypocalcemia, meaning that my body was storing all of the calcium and it wasn't circulating through my body, and it caused problems. So they put me on just a medication. It was a D125, so it's a hormone, but when vitamin D gets broken down into from D3 to D25 to D125. So they were just giving me D125 and it worked. But it was a little yellow and red capsule. And so and it was a liquid inside, so I couldn't recapsule it. So I tried to find a natural colored one. They didn't have it. And so I took it for years. I took it up until 2 years ago. And when I got it 1 month and it was naturally colored, I watched my anxiety drop. And I thought, well, that was interesting. So the next month I got it and it was back to the red and yellow. And so being the researcher, I'm like, all right, let's see how this goes. And I watched my anxiety go back up. And so I called the pharmacy and had them put in my chart that I can't do artificial colors. And so they sent me the next month ones with natural. And that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to cut everything out. My blue toothpaste, because that's a thing too. But I didn't think I was reacting, so it didn't matter. So my blue toothpaste and that medication, and I made sure that I didn't touch anything else that had color in it. And within 5 days, I'm having this mini existential crisis. I'm like, I was turning 50. I had just turned 52. And I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like the rumination disappeared. The anxiety disappeared. The people pleasing, the need to people please. Like I love making people happy, but that worrying about a conversation 6 months ago, or if I don't do this, they might not like me, or like some of these things that would just go in the back of my head, gone. So many things just gone. And I thought, well, holy cow, like who am I? And then I stopped taking the medication and it turns out I don't need it. I don't have parathyroid hypocalcemia. So whatever triggered it back then, because we were eating dyes up until around that point, but whatever triggered it, I don't need it. And so I ended up getting off the medication. And so the medication was actually perpetuating the metabolic disorder. So when I met Lauren and we were talking, he goes, oh yeah, it causes metabolic issues. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's where that went. And it's not that hard to avoid. At first, it's difficult in that you have to read everything, and I have to wear reading glasses now. And so, you're at the store reading every ingredient. But once you get used to like what it is, we usually buy the same 100 things at the store over and over again anyway. We're definitely
Right.
creatures of habit. And so once you have your products that don't have color in it, and it's easy. And you just get into the habit of reading things. And we have everything in our house from organic to Oreos, because Oreos don't have it unless it's colored. And you'll tell on that one. But otherwise, it's not that hard to avoid. Like you said, Trader Joe's, Aldi's, there's a lot of different places that carry a lot of natural colors. I have sprinkles at home that are brightly colored, but they're all natural, made with plant extracts. We've done egg dyeing at Easter with natural colors, and it's a shift. There's a website or a Facebook group called Dye Free Family Swaps, Recipes, and Resources. And there's almost 1 million people in that group. And it's a wonderful group for finding swaps for things. People post up questions and there's plenty of answers. And it's a really good resource for people who are looking to shift things around. But medications are one of them that are very difficult. And I'm a researcher, so I can find the information if it's out there. And you can look up the very specific medication and the pharmaceutical company that's producing it, and you can find the pill. And there's like a pill identifier or a pill finder website that you can enter it in, and then it'll pull up the ingredients. And having a conversation with your doctor, having a conversation with the pharmacist is also really important. All over our charts, it's, no dyes, no dyes, no dyes. There is one medication that I take that is a capsule that I have to recapsule it every day because there's no way of getting it dye-free. So, it's all right. But you do have to dig deep in that one. And I've had people, oh, well, it's not an allergy. So the definition of an allergy is that it causes a physiological reaction, something that causes a negative physiological reaction. So it is an allergy if it's causing you a negative physiological reaction. And all of our doctors have been wonderful about, this is a problem. And so they just, any prescription for like an antibiotic, if we have to take an antibiotic or whatever, they have to write it on the bottom of it. And I had the flu and they wanted to give me an antiviral, couldn't find it without color in it. So I was like, elderberry extract it is. So I went with that. But there are definitely steps that you have to take in order to make sure that you eliminate it from everything. Toothpaste, mouthwash, sublingual is a thing. You put something underneath your tongue and it goes straight into your bloodstream. Dermal absorption is a thing. You put it on your skin. We know that red and yellow, the azo dyes, are broken down by bacteria that are also found on your skin. So it can get broken down and end up in your bloodstream. Unfortunately, we ended up testing this out with my son accidentally, spraying him down with sunblock that had bronzer in it. The first ingredient was blue, second was red, third was yellow. So that had an effect on him for sure. So it's just being more mindful of what you consume, what you put on your skin.
Right.
We don't have candles with color in it. We use essential oils that in our house if we want to do something like that. We don't, all of our lotions, all of our toothpastes, and you can find name brand toothpaste that don't have color in it. They're just white. So it's not that difficult either. And so it's just the mindfulness part of it is tough. There are some swaps that you will not find. You're not going to find a Baja Blast, right? So Baja Blast is definitely something you're not going to find dye-free. There are some things. And then you just have to ask yourself, do I really need those? And usually the answer is no. There's plenty of pickles that you can get now. I used to have to go to 3 stores to get pickle relish, sweet relish, dill relish, and pickles because it was impossible to find. Now Kroger brand has an entire line that says no synthetic colors right on the front. And I mean, I'm standing in the store just almost in tears, sending pictures to my son of like, look, like all the pickles, the silliest little things. Baskin Robbins pulled out the colors out of their ice cream back in 2018. They never announced it because they didn't want people freaking out. They're still brightly colored. We made them show us all the ingredients because it's like, we don't trust anything anymore, especially with Alex having the reactions that he does. But it just, again, you just need to be mindful. Using brightly colored fresh vegetables. I want to address a myth, and it's going to pop up every summer because it does. You're going to see videos on TikTok and Instagram. Watermelons are not dyed. Okay. Farmers do not have the time to walk around and inject every watermelon with Red 3. Okay. It just doesn't happen. This blew up last summer, and I was like, what? No, no. There is one synthetic food dye that is approved for the use on Florida orange peels, and only in Florida, and it is citrus red 2. It is rarely used. The last time it was used was 2020. And you can find every synthetic dye has to be batch tested. And so you can see how many pounds are used. And so it was, I don't know, maybe a few thousand pounds. Last year alone, red 40, 5.3 million pounds of red 40, which was batch tested last year. And that's just red 40. Red 40 Lake is oil soluble. Red 40 is water soluble. So you combine those two together and you've got over 7 million pounds of red 40 that was used. That's a lot. I mean, we're using a lot of dyes. And like you said, it used to be in candies and things that were obvious. Now they use red 40 sometimes in white frosting that you wouldn't see it. They use blue one in marshmallows. You don't see it. So
mashed potatoes too.
Yeah. Yes. I found red 40 in a pasta sauce only once. I just found a bag of tortilla chips that had yellow 5 and yellow 6 in them. And they looked like regular tortilla chips. I was floored in all my 12 years. And tortilla chips are a staple in our house. I've never seen them dyed other than like the red or the blue or something obvious. But nope. So found those the other day. I was shocked. So as soon as we let our guard down, we have a problem. So we just, anything that we haven't already bought, we just read and period.
Well, that's, if the walk away, 2 things, there's 3 things. Go watch the TEDx, which there'll be a link to that, or should be. You can find To Die For the documentary. Just put it in. I just rented it on YouTube because I didn't have. What channel is streaming it?
So it's on Apple TV. It's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Kinema, and
I think Canopy for free if you have a library card.
Yes, Canopy for free if you have the library card. Yes, it's you can rent it, you can buy it. It is Brandon and Whitney did a fantastic job with this. They really did, and it's the only thing that my son has ever. It's the only interview he's ever done so far on video. There is another documentary that was coming out mostly on him. I don't know when that's coming out, but this is the only time he spoke it out. He was 16 at the time. And they did a fantastic job of really talking to people who tried to make policies, people in government, people, scientists, researchers. They talked to us, several of us family members, and they themselves. I mean, the reason that they did it was because their son was reacting to food dyes, and they figured that out. And they, like me, didn't want to sit still and not say anything and educate. I've spent 12 years advocating for this, just over and over. I found out that my TED Talk was used to help get the bill through in California to get it removed from school
foods. Fabulous.
Yeah, I was like so honored, and I think I cried for a while on that one. I never thought when we did that TED Talk, I kept saying, if we reach one family, just one, and help one family and one kiddo not go through what we went through and what our son went through, then it's a win. And here we are, thousands and thousands of kiddos and families later. And I am so grateful that I was given the opportunity to deliver that TED Talk, because it's all about helping people not feel terrible when you don't have to. I mean,
right. So everybody contact the lead information. And the book is Everything you need to
Yeah.
know about synthetic food dyes, and the pamphlet, Everything You Need to Know About Red Dye Number 3.
Yeah.
Right now, Amazon, it's Kindle. By July, the hardcover book should be out.
Yeah.
Get it. And if there's one thing to walk away with, read the labels.
Yeah.
You'll surprise yourself. Just
Yeah.
read the labels. If your medications have color in them, ask your pharmacist.
Yeah.
And since I know that I'm not going to ask you all the food questions I ask at the end of the show, so I am going to ask ones that are applicable to anyone. If you wake up tomorrow with a new talent, what would the new talent be?
To be able to spread empathy to everyone, like to make everyone have empathy for others. I think it's something that's lacking in this world right now, that we all could use a good dose of empathy for others, because you never know what other people are going through.
No, you don't. You don't. If you can go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Relax, it'll all work out. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's something we all are, right?
Well, you'd be surprised. That piece of advice, that answer comes from multiple people when I've done this show.
Yeah.
Is it'll be all right.
It'll
Go
be
back
okay.
and tell yourself it'll be okay.
Just relax. Don't freak out.
Right.
Yeah. Don't worry about what other people think about you, right?
Right. I thank you so much. Hopefully this has opened up the eyes to some other people. I actually sent the TED Talk to my girlfriend, who was a retired kindergarten teacher, and checking with her to see, what results, what she was in the years, and these young kids coming in reactive to it. I mean, there's more information, folks. Follow Rebecca.
Teachers see it. Teachers see it. Yeah, find me, ask me. I don't mind talking to people. I like talking to people, and I'm happy to answer questions, and hopefully our book answers a lot of questions that are out there. And the Dye-Free Families, Swaps, Recipes, Resources is a fantastic Facebook page to get more information from. So yeah, I'm a moderator on there. It's a great resource. Watch the documentary, To Die For the documentary. Just educate yourself and make good choices for you and your family and your health. Food's supposed to nourish us. It's supposed to bring us joy. It is not supposed to make us sad and anxious and angry and uncomfortable in our own bodies. So, yeah. But thank you for having me on here. Thank you so much for helping, spread the word. Again, It's all about helping people to not feel terrible when they don't have to,
Right. Rebecca, doctor, professor, thank you. And I have a couple of announcements, and so much joy you brought me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Yes. We'll put on the readers because I'm there right now. Feel free to reach out to me via my email, which is food@jmoreliving, or at Dara Cooks at Instagram, or on Facebook. I do have a page called the Food Enthusiast. Next week's guest will be Chef Ryan Rondello, a personal chef to the stars, author, entrepreneur who is known for his Cali, New Orleans cuisine. You can sign up for jmoreliving.com's free This Week in Baltimore Eating newsletter. All you have to do is go to jmoreliving.com, go up on the Connect menu, and sign up for it. And it comes out, I believe, every other week, or if they have more information, every week. But it's Baltimore restaurant news, it's our videos. So please, feel free. There's recipes. And go to J More Living. We have a huge, huge catalog of recipes on the site for you. You can sign up for, I already did that. Okay. Put the glasses back on, Dara. All shows are immediately archived in video form on Jamore Living's Facebook page and jamoreliving.com. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and family. Feel free to go back into our archives and enjoy past shows. As I always end my show, may your plates always, always remain full. I look forward to seeing you next Thursday.